Mike Martin's here, Mike Martin's channel. This is a really interesting one from the HuffPost, right here, Huffington Post. Total debt worldwide hits 240 trillion US dollars. That's like a gazillion Canadian dollars. And the Bank of Canada is worried. So guys, I brought this up before. It's like, as long as the Decepticons don't come and collect this money, we should be okay. So let's find out what they're saying. Whether you're a homeowner or a business person, high leverage can leave you vulnerable in a vulnerable financial position. We talked about this already, guys, many times on the channel. Ottawa, the Bank of Canada senior deputy governor says an explosion of global debt over the last decade is a top concern that she argues is holding back the economic growth and creating vulnerabilities in the world's financial system. Let's not forget, consumer confidence is down on everything. In vehicles, people aren't buying cars, blenders, clothing. People are going to thrift stores now. I pull into a thrift store to go look at novels and just trinkets and stuff for the house and stuff. And I can't believe how many people are in the thrift stores. Just lineups to go pay. It's like, what? The global financial system is in better shape than it was in 2007 before the financial crisis, but unknowns such as ongoing U.S.-China trade tensions could knock things off course. Caroline said in a speech Thursday on Vancouver. Whitkins also warned that high debt loans usually become amplified factor when it comes to economic downturn. Guys, let's not forget also the student loans. The amount people pay in student loan debt. It's one of the driving forces of the Canadian economy and American economy. Since the student loan debt went federal, it's actually a good to help prop our economy with student loan debt. So buy into the whole facade to get an education, and you'll make an extra $1 million in your lifetime. And buy into that facade. Well, you're just an extra $1 million indebted for the rest of your life because you don't have the disposable income you would have if you weren't paying off the student loans, and that disposable income would have allowed you to invest in better things. The U.S.-China trade war expanding global geopolitical unrest have been key worries for the Bank of Canada, she noted. The global development that concerns me the most, though, is rising debt. Wilkins said in her speech at the event hosted by the University of British Columbia's Economics Department, CFA, Society of Vancouver. Whether you're a homeowner or a business person, you know firsthand that the high leverage can leave you vulnerable in the financial position. It's not different for economies. The world has learned this lesson the hard way in many occasions in my lifetime. She said that the combined global debt owed by governments, businesses, and households amounts to 240 trillion, which is about 100 trillion higher than just before the financial crisis and more than 3 times the world's gross domestic product. That's the key right there. 3 times the gross domestic. So we're not even making enough and fabricating enough to catch up with what we owe. Government debt, she added, has skyrocketed over the past 10 years, while corporate borrowing has exploded and now displays some risky qualities. But some debt could be a good thing, she said. For instance, Wilkins said limited accumulation of public sector debt can help stimulate economic growth. But we don't want that. We want disposable income back in the day where people saved layaway and bought when they could afford it, right? Depending on how it's used, and companies can borrow as a way to invest in expanding their capacity. Yes, I see that for company, but not for personal. All right, we read that already. Debt levels around the world piled higher, largely because of the long stretch of extremely low borrowing rates. That was necessary to help global growth build fresh momentum, she said. The downturn would have been even deeper and more painful with those decisive policy responses, Wilkins said. What strikes me, though, is how much overall leverage has grown globally. Even the financial sector has repaired its books. Canada's high household debt, which is more than 178% of disposable income, I think it's 190 in Australia or 200, is the central bank's top domestic financial vulnerability, she said. The good news for Canadian businesses and households is that financial system globally and here at home is safer that it was a decade ago, thanks to much stronger safeguards, she said. What safeguards? All this crap being put on the books by banks, and then the Royal Commission in Australia sniffing around and finding all kinds of crap. Imagine what they find if they come to Canada, if Canada sets something up to actually properly regulate the banks and do an audit on what's going on. What a bunch of crap. Wickens added the important for policymakers around the world to continue efforts to conduct stress tests in different parts of the financial system when necessary to put safeguards. Guys, stress tests, like I said, should have been put in place since the time of Moses to protect the consumer. But when you got quotas to hit every month and you had to do so much in unsecured debt, unsecured loans, and you had to do so much in secured loans per lender, every lender needs to hit X amount per quota. And if they don't hit that, they basically get shown the door. So people, fudging numbers, moving things around, underwriters approving deals they shouldn't be approved. You know what? I think I wouldn't be surprised me in the next 3 to 4 years that a lot of the banks buy some of these mortgages back that they screwed people over on. And I hope they do, because a lot of people, it's not their fault they're educated, because they believe that the bank people in the banking system are educated to help them lead the way into things. Now, you got banks in Australia that are charging dead people fines, and it's not calling the next of kin. Hi, your father has $2 million left, and we've been charging him $4,000 a year on his bank accounts. Do you want to come and get that $2 million bucks? No, they don't do that. They just leave it sitting there instead of calling the next of kin. But that's just how it works. That's just how it works. It's the almighty dollar, and that's what people are selling out for. Let me know. And if you think that Decepticons are coming, I need to know. Because if we have to pony up, and if the banks call in all the debt, we're screwed. There's no way we could pay the Decepticons off, and I hope they don't break my knees. Thanks for watching, and let me know what you guys think.